So yeah, just welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here, for spending your Sunday with us today. This is Our Future Worlds, Level Ground's annual syllabus event. Thank you again for coming and for being a part of our community. Thank you so much to Naval for allowing us to be in this beautiful space. Thank you so much to Chaos Kitchen for the wonderful snacks and food and the chowder, which I haven't had. Somebody please save me some. And thank you also to Hornitos for providing us such wonderful drinks today. It's been so nice to hang out with you guys. So I just want to start off by naming that we are on unceded Gabrielino and Tonga lands in a country that is founded on enslavement and genocide, in a country that continues to deeply harm people through those behaviors. I'm sure some of you all have noticed, but the news this morning was awful coming out of Gaza. The news from Sudan and Tigray and Congo over the years has been also equally as troubling. And I don't know, just hope that we can spend the time together today being in that as well as in what is really beautiful about this. Yeah, as we reckon and process and feel our way through this, building a future that involves solidarity across intersecting struggles is incredibly important. When we come together like this, I'm reminded that when we come together, build together, speak with each other honestly, when we strategize with each other and hold space for one another, the future that we need feels ever present and actually alive, and we're contributing to it being and staying alive. So you all are part of this, so thank you so much. And as Toni Morrison said, this is precisely when the artists should get to work. I think this is part of the work. So I think of this when we gather and when we dream and imagine, so this is part of that. So every year at Level Ground, we host a group of emerging and mid-career artists. If you've been a resident at Level Ground before, an art resident, could you raise your hand? Could we stand up? I know that's right. Look at that. Yes, we have all of our alumni from last year are here. Leo, Alice, Ray, Reagan Brown, and Bianca Nozaki-Nasser, who is going to be a co-host today. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. So yeah, every year we do that, and as part of the residents, we ask them to develop syllabi. We ask them to move us through their creative process and their practice, and they're really, in their generosity, they share with us what they've been reading, what they've been digesting as artists and as people contributing to their communities, and they share it with us. So these 4 residents have made incredible syllabi that are now live on our website, and also from our alumni that's also available too. So, and that's why we're here. It's my pleasure to introduce y'all to Aya, Dami, Gemma, and Kyla, our 4 residents. Please give them another round of applause. Thank y'all for being here. And we also have our amazing co-hosts for this conversation, Leslie Foster and Bianca Nozaki-Nasser, who are both resident alum. And I will do the bios now. Bianca is an artist, designer, and educator. As a queer Syrian, Lebanese, Japanese, American Muslim, her research and creative practice often engages contested histories, critical geographies, and the capacity of objects to encapsulate power, memory, pain, and possibility. She is currently an assistant professor at the Art Center of College and Design, where she teaches interdisciplinary studios and intensives on design, futurism, and political education. Previously, Bianca spent 5 years as a strategy and creative director at a national digital-first Asian American advocacy organization, where she used technology and creative media to mobilize over 170,000 young Americans around racial justice. Excuse me. And then we also have Leslie. Yes, please clap it up for Bianca. Incredible work. And we also have Leslie. Leslie Foster uses video art and installation to create beautifully strange, contemplative ecologies that explore Black and queer futurity through the lens of dream logic. Leslie completed his MFA in Design and Media Arts at UCLA in 2022 and attended the Skowhegan School of Painting and Sculpture in 2022. Come on now. His work, which was shortlisted for the Hopper Prize in 2020 and awarded the Lace Lightning Fund in 2023, has been exhibited nationally and internationally, including 2 exhibitions at the Torrance Art Museum and 2 solo shows. It has also been exhibited at film and video art festivals around the world, including Outfest, where his 4-channel installation, Heavenly Brown Body, won a grand jury prize. Leslie serves as an assistant professor of time-based media at Cal State San Marcos and regularly daydreams about running away with a seafaring band of nomadic artists. Welcome, you both. Thank you so much.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name is Bianca. My pronouns are she, they. And I guess we will get started. So this is to everybody on the panel in whichever order you'd like. But what would you like us to know about you, and introduce yourself to the space? Anyone want to go first?
I can go first. Hello, everyone. My name is Umoh, and I wear a couple hats. I'm a multimedia artist. I'm also a data scientist, a dancer, a poet, a creative in general, and I'm super excited to be here. The work that I'm exploring through this residency is between archiving digital African traditional dances, and that goes into my background as a traditional African dancer. Like, I've been dancing since I was a little girl, and the biggest moments for me of dancing were for my sister's weddings. And so wanted to really bring something that was taught through my aunts and through, family, so that like oral story, but like archive it, and archive these dances, and exploring how to do that with AI. So I always like to bring the different parts of myself together, and so that's one way. But then also thinking about remixing it and exploring that opportunity also with AI, and thinking of like new dance moves that, kind of built on from there. And then there's other layers that I'll just go just one step down and then I'll pass it off. Is also music, right? Like, music is really important with dancing, and one area that has been really cool to explore is making music, but making music in a way that's connected back to the space and connected back to the meaning of the dances. So the dance that I usually, or not usually, but that we're focusing on is a kombi. And a kombi is like, it moves like mimicking the waves. And so I started to explore even just how can you make music that kind of emulates also waves, and how can we explore that with data? So yeah. Who else likes to go next?
I'll go.
Okay.
Hey y'all, I'm Dami Spain. You might also know me by Davia Spain. One thing that you should know about me is that I like having multiple names. So as many names as possible, actually. Yeah, I guess part of my creative practice is similarly wearing many different hats, and has morphed over many years. I started off, I think the beginning of my art practice was in church, unfortunately, but there's beautiful music in churches, and I started off as a singer. I sang in children's choirs. I sang in choirs all the way through college, actually. So I'm really big on a lot of oohs and ahs, and just making really pretty sounds with my physical instrument. I also studied dance for years, but the dance industry was intensely transphobic, so I swiftly moved out of that field And then I went to school for film. And that kind of allowed me to create works that encompassed everything that I do, because I also have experience working in theater, but filmmaking is a way to kind of encompass all that: music, performance art, dance, even writing. So yeah, I've taken many twists and turns with my creative practice, but every time I do it, I like to fold it back into the work that I'm doing in other areas and allow them to kind of like commingle. Yeah, what else about me? Born and raised in California. And also, one more thing you should know about me is that I am accepting all forms of money and gifts.
Hey. That's right.
Hi everyone, my name is Gemma, pronouns she, they. Yeah, it's so good to be here with y'all. Super grateful to be sharing space with everyone. Some things you should know about me. I was raised in the San Fernando Valley, LA, been here. I was born in Veracruz, Mexico. I'm undocumented, and now I'm like I feel like a lot of my experience in that, world has really made me self-conscious and aware of how I navigate space. And so I really started exploring that part of myself through media making, filmmaking, and that's where I have gone through. I've been exploring a lot of experimental filmmaking, and then I ended up going more into like how places are being made and the histories and how people are part of spaces. And so I studied urban planning and urban studies. And yeah, that's led me to today really fixate on how people move and navigate spaces, and how people are a part of space, and how people take up space. I feel like where I am right now, I'm really kind of bringing all that I've learned and witnessed myself, and kind of imagining how public spaces in LA County and how public transportation can really connect us to one another and to, the people that we want to be a part of. And yeah, other than that, I love hibiscus, Jamaica, so that was really cool surprise to see. Yeah, it was good. it was a bit spiked, but good. That's it.
So Kyla.
Hi everyone, my name is Kyla, my pronouns are they, them. You can also call me Anansi, something I'm exploring. Thank you. I think what I want you all to know is that I have a foundation in like movement-based art. I was a rhythmic gymnast when I was younger, and then I ran away with the circus and did a lot of contortion and pole dancing. So I have a very somatic lens when I approach anything and everything that I do. That space alone really, I don't know, I just feel like we don't all get the opportunity to be in conversation with our bodies in that way. And so I feel like I really try and create spaces and even one-on-one moments with people to be able to do that with themselves. I think another thing is that I have been in such a cocoon for like years where little to no making has happened. I just haven't been creating, and in that space, there's a lot of self-doubt of like, am I an artist even? But remembering that we can bloom more than once, and that our output isn't what makes us an artist. And through that cocoon space, I was really creating these strands of thought that turned into these webs, and I had a lot of support from friends, family, and partners, and now I'm here. because all of the things that I was sitting on came into one. So for this, I am doing like textile sculpture and video installation based on kink and BDSM and how liberating it is for Black bodies and Black beings. Yeah.
I'm going to hold on to that. We can bloom more than once. That's absolutely stunning. That might be such a thought. So growing from that, I'm curious about, in your process of germination and blooming, who are your artistic ancestors? And kind of expand on that. How do their legacies find their way into your work? How do you look for inspiration and for grounding? And this is for anybody, to just jump in as you like.
I think a lot of my inspiration comes from people who are still alive, people that I know personally, my friends, and people who I look up to. I think one who has passed is Octavia Butler. Huge influence on me, her writing and her world building capabilities, and her visions of the future, which is something that resonates with me. Someone who is alive, I love Pam Grier. I'm obsessed with Pam Grier. I want to be her. She makes me want to just like stay strapped, because her brain, I don't know, I really just am very inspired by her and her legacy in the film space, and as an actor, and as a Black and Indigenous woman. And say some other people, I'm very inspired by an artist named Star Amarasu, who is my mother at one point. We're sisters now, but she was my mom at one point. She's amazing to me. Yeah. Oh, and I guess, how does it find their legacies? I'm a daydreamer. I like to dream and like imagine things, and just like being able to see what they created allows me to expand what I want to create, and then I'm like inspired by their fashion or by their hair, or like little things that I carry with me on a daily basis, that allow me to like, I don't know, honor them.
I really like this question. I think it's something that I just really like how it's part of this, and I had to sit with it for a bit, because I think when I was thinking about artistic ancestors, I obviously like went first to my family and the roots in their creative journey, and I think a lot about my parents, specifically dancing cumbias, and that being their happy space, and them literally being iconic on the dance floor too. But just how dancing has been so integral to like my community worldwide, you know, and even hearing it, y'all talk about how movement and dancing is so significant too, and I really feel that, and I think about, you know, those little moments like that and how much it takes to organize a dance party, not just to celebrate someone's birthdays, but bring people together to dance. And I really appreciate that. And then just also, I also love Octavia Butler too, public transit rider all the way. But also, I think someone who really like, I always go back to again and again is Audre Lorde, and just really giving me that imagination to really sit with myself and find pleasure within my body, but also my environment and my community, and building those networks together. I really appreciate her work, and it's someone I again and again go back especially uses of the erotic. But for this particular work, I find various inspiration in different people. Someone who passed away recently is Mike Davis, who wrote various work on LA history, politics, and I was happy to be part of a little reading circle about Mike Davis's work and just how that influences, how we're part of a place, and specifically LA, right? And just how this, urban space has been commodified and privatized. But Mike Davis, even through all the harsh research he did, what he wrote about, criminalization, surveillance, even with all that, he kept this sense of hope till the very end. And there was an article out there of one of his last interviews, and it makes me tear up because even till then, there was always a sense of hope. And that's something I carry in my work, just really finding joy and pleasure and connection throughout it all, as well as acknowledging what's happening as well and what's been happening.
Okay. I think when thinking of this question, I go to the trees a lot. They've just taught me so much. They've taught me how to hold space, take up space, be still, be loud in my own way, and that it doesn't have to look like someone else's way. I think I look to my younger self a lot also. I was just so adventurous, and I played so much, and I was so gentle with myself, and I think I look to that a lot. And when I create, I loved building, and I would just be stacking whatever I could stack on top of each other, and I'm just trying to tap back into that. I would also say my family, they just created such a beautiful foundation. We didn't have all of the means, but my mom and my grandmother really took the time to take us to see art, to get us as many random supplies, and make art as a family, where there wasn't fear of permanence, there wasn't fear of making a mistake. It was just about exploring and art vomiting on whatever surface or with whatever medium. A few artists that I've been thinking about a lot lately, Eartha Kitt is one, just her fire, this presence that just can take up and fill a whole room. Trying to tap into that. I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm vibrating right now. I'm really nervous, but I feel really calm also, and I'm excited to take up space with my voice in that way. And I think back to Eartha, and I'm trying to stand in that energy also. I love Wengeshi Mutu. She has created so many humanoid beings and creatures, and that's just, I don't know, I think it reminds me of all the creatures that I am. I really resonate with her sculptures and her collage, and I think there's a lot of, she highlights how otherworldly Black people are, but not a spectacle, still being otherworldly. And I just think that is so important, that storytelling. Dietrich Brackens is another one, the storytelling, taking tragic events, but transmuting the pain into something beautiful is something that I really want to do in my work as well. Who else? Yeah, I feel like the list could go on, but those are definitely, More Mother. If you don't listen to More Mother, definitely recommend. But her music is just so ancestral, experimental, ambient jazz, like it's everything, but I definitely feel like I can feel all of myself when I listen to her music. Yeah.
So for my ancestors, definitely it would be my aunts, my grandmother, even like in these past few years as my family has started to take my art craft seriously. My dad will often say like, oh, this comes from your grandmother's side, this comes from your grandmother's side, like she was a woman. And so some context, like I'm Nigerian American, and like my parents and like all my immediate family, besides my sisters, like were born and raised in Nigeria. And so my dad says like your grandmother, like she was a person back in the day that like every woman would come to her to basically have like, it sounded kind of like a spa. Like she would take care of them, bathe her, like really take care of her. And he called it like her artwork, which I loved. And so that's definitely something that I didn't even realize was just like, yeah, like truly like my ancestors of that line of always finding a way of like creating art, but there's always like a strong like rest component to the narrative of my work. And then dance as well. And in terms of like living people, I would say Latrice Gaskin. And Latrice Gaskin was like the first person that I saw that, to my surprise, like actually looks like me in the like art tech space that's creating work that is really mind-blowing, but also really relatable. Or she's uncovering things. Like she showed that people who create different types of graffiti work are actually using different geometry formulas that they don't know, but like there's math behind it. So she connected math to like all different levels of like just from the minorities lens. And her like thesis in her work is really how if you put like new media into the hands of minorities, we're gonna create new work that you've never seen before. Or how like hip hop was created off of a tool that was even made for that. But like the first people who made the music were just playing around with something and reinvented it. And so I've always come to like explore creating work that way, where I try to find things that are really close to me, but then I also try to find that technology perspective, because if not, like, who else? And it's important to make space in these areas. And then the last like thing I'll say is an artist from the past, most recent past, is Cicely Tyson. And I listened to her autobiography, and like her work ethic was so intense, and not like she woke up every day and memorized her lines. It's like, she went out to the nursing home and spent like 9 months like walking and like really getting into character and understanding the people and the story behind every role she portrayed. And that's why she won those roles. And so that's something that I really try to do when I try to make my work, that it's not just aesthetics. Like it's really, there's like intention behind there. There's a lot of purpose to try to understand the people or myself or just the storyline, and try to explore that with technology and storytelling.
I love you referencing your grandmother and like rest as a practice, not just as like something that is for after work is done, but something that is integrated. And so I think this next question is for everyone, which is where and how do you find rest? And if you could add an element of rest onto your syllabus, what would it be?
I already did add one to my syllabus. I think one of my favorite ways to rest is with people, putting out a blanket at a park and drinking a bubbly water and smoking a joint and giggling. And then like laying down for a little bit and then getting up for round 2. And, you know, that, and like having the time to do that and to just like spread, and yeah, it has gotten me through. Also, I'd be playing video games with my friends, which is really fun, but it's also stimulating in this way. So then it like wears you out, and then you're like, okay, girl. Yeah.
It's so cool you said that, because I was also thinking the same. I also added it to my syllabus, just kind of being with people too. On my syllabus, you'll find connections to different bike rides specifically happening in LA. There's various groups all over. But there's also like women-led groups, queer-led groups that I added as well. And I even resources to like how to get out in nature if you don't have a car, right? Or if you just want to make it easier for yourself, because sometimes maybe you don't feel like driving, but you want to be out. And doing that, like I'll be honest, like this week has been heavy, and I'll just go home after work and I'll kind of isolate myself, and it's been just really hard to just have the energy to do anything. But towards the weekend, I've been out, I've been with people, and I wake up and I feel so energized. And I think that kind of speaks just being with friends, being with community and people I love and I feel inspired from has been really helpful and grounding, especially just as heavy as things have been. And that's why, and we were just in conversation last night too about how like biking has been one way for me to be able to be out with people and like just get out and like and move my body and be able to like just go where I please. And there's complexities to that, of course, but like I'm really grateful to be able to be with people right now. Like that for me right now, I think it's what's given me rest and has given me the energy to continue the next day and go, you know, and go with it.
So I actually just went here yesterday. It's the beach. That's a place that I'm obsessed with it, and I realized like it's in my music. I mean, it's in my artwork, and it's a place that many times in my life, like I felt very like lost, but then like after going to the beach, like actually feeling restored and like refreshed and like really realizing like there's something there, like being at the ocean and like just taking a moment to just like breathe and like listen to the water crash, you know, and like listen to that and just take it in and just like recognize that like as tough as things may be, like it's gonna be okay. And I love going there in sunset. So that's like my best time to go, like just seeing the golden hour. And I'm from Miami, but being here, I feel like the beaches are 10 times better. You get the mountains and the ocean and another mountain back there, because that's an island. You know, Miami is just super flat, but that's definitely a huge place for me, is like the beach and just water. I definitely echo like being with people, and even in nature, where that's like a picnic or going hiking, but being in community.
I am learning how to rest. My past ways of rest aren't necessarily what are working for me now, so I'm trying to find new things to just get me to stop. I agree, the beach. I think I'm trying to work on like how to harness that energy, because when I'm at the beach, I feel like, okay, there's pause, I can breathe, I can think, I have more clarity, and I'm like, how could I bottle this and take it with me? I love a park. I think, yeah, also just taking a moment and being like, I can just stop and play video games right now. I can binge watch this show, and that's okay. I can starfish in the middle of my apartment, and that's also great and necessary. On my syllabus, I included the nap ministry. There's a book, but there was also a performative installation where it was more of a collective where people could just nap together. And I love a nap. I love a nap, and I love napping with people that I love and care about, and new energies. And I think that, y'all hear that? I think that being still together in that way, and just resting, and when your breath syncs up with another person's, I think it's just really beautiful. I think when it comes to rest, I'm really grateful for the friends that I have and my partner, Alexander, because they love it. They love when I rest, and they tell me when to do it when I can't do it for myself. And it shows up in ways of them taking over tasks so I don't have to do it, so that I can just stop and rest, or opening up their homes to me so that I can nap in their backyard. Yeah, it just looks so different, but I think I just love resting with others.
And I love taking a moment to rest and acknowledge the rest that's in your syllabi, because I think in a world where everything is attempted to be commodified, rest is revolutionary in a place and a space where art becomes a constant churn of having to create for a capitalistic demand. Rest becomes revolutionary, and it's so important to take that moment and have that. I'm so glad that you've included that and thought about that in your work. I think it's absolutely important. And so to move from that deeper into the syllabus now. So we're here because you've curated the syllabus. What are some items, topics, actions that are in your syllabus? What are some things from your syllabus that you'd like to highlight for us?
Ooh, okay. I think I shared a bit about it's very heavy on public transportation, just active movement, how we get to places, whether it be on bus, walking, rolling. But also I want to acknowledge staying still and put in place too. And so I've been really focused and a bit obsessed with this, from my own experience, but also just seeing my community around me and how they move and learning from them and their stories and experiences. And so a lot of what I included is very LA focused, just looking at LA's history and how a lot of that is related to it. I also put LA Plays Itself. It's a documentary about how LA is portrayed in filmmaking. But there's one specific piece, because it's a really long film. It's an essay documentary. It's about maybe 3 hours longer, a bit more. But there's one piece about the LA Rebellion filmmakers who really were sharing a different narrative about their stories, but also how they relate to LA, and coming to here and seeing what stories are not being told. And so that piece in that film was really inspiring to me because, and I included in my syllabi too, who then walks LA? The films don't show that specifically, right? And so they ponder on that question, right? And so I think that's what I ponder too. The public transportation, all transportations are the backbone of how we navigate our communities and place. And I really want to acknowledge the histories behind that and our current present, and as well as the future, right? And how people are navigating spaces. And it's beautiful. It's been really beautiful and difficult at the same time to see people doing that work and learning about different organizations, and then the work I'm also involved in, and just this growing movement for mobility justice too that has been going on and has been acknowledging, not everyone has access to resources, to play, to green spaces, and so that really, has affected my own experience and how I move and how I interact. And and so those are some things you'll find there, as well as poetry too. I think I put a good amount of poetry. I put a friend, Lupita, who wrote a beautiful poem about a car crash is not a poem. I think I may have butchered the title, but it really speaks to just how even through art making, people have been also like kind of thinking about how do we move with our bodies and interact with others, and how much of a blessing it is, but also how difficult it may be depending, who you are. And what else? What's on there? Oh, I also put something that I also was something I've come across recently. I put Dub Lab, this program link called Deep Roots, I believe, or Routes. And there's one I put about Broadway and how, I mentioned cumbias earlier, I really love cumbias. And so they talk about cumbia's history on Broadway Street here in downtown. And to me, that was really fascinating how they talk about music, but also how it's really, how it changed Broadway too in like the 90s and early 2000s. And so just, this syllabi really kind of want to encompass like a variety of things from creative to like literature and history, as well as things you could do as well right now. And yeah, I'll stop there because I think that's good.
So I'm cheating a little bit. I have my syllabus on my phone. So my syllabus is called Traditional Rhythm, Future Frequencies. And so I, similar, have a few different things that are, not traditional to a syllabus. For example, I have some YouTube videos that showcase the kombi dance, and also some that show, it's like a very beautiful harmony of performers, different drums, as well as the dance as well. But then I do have your traditional white paper, which I was actually so excited and not surprised, given Nigerians just do the most. But that there was a white paper on a kombi from University Uyo in Akwa Ibom State, which is the state I'm from in Nigeria. And that was really cool to find. So that's the first thing you'll see. And it really goes into the stories behind, the tradition behind it, the costumes, what are the different costumes, how you can make it. So that's something that I really am excited to share with you all. Another thing that I have on here is Afrofuturism, because of course I'm exploring not just preserving it, but also reimagining it. And I pull a lot from Afrofuturism in the different pieces that you've probably seen behind. And to me, that's the space that it's like the theme of our talk, Future Worlds, always wanting to create art or explore a place that pushes us beyond what we see now, but in a more positive and thriving place, not a place of survival. And then I also have techno-vernacular creativity and innovation, and that's a very long word that comes from the artist that really got me into this, Natrice Gaskin, and that's basically a book that goes into different principles that she explores, like remixing, which we've talked about, improvisation, and then reappropriation. And again, I just really love how she takes these tools and shows you how you can do it from an educational perspective, from a creative perspective, so just different ways to go in deeper in exploring things that you may find really interesting in and exploring that with technology. One book that I got recommended from USC's dance, dean of dance, excuse me. It's called Tandem Dances, and it's something that I want to incorporate into my solo show, which is some elements of immersive theater. And so this is what this book explores. And that way, when you come to the show, like you're not just like a spectator, but you start to participate as well. And start to explore different ways of, in the final show, like what elements are you learning more about, like a kombi? Like, do you start dancing a kombi? Do you start making like the drums? Just like different elements that I want to explore of how they're bringing the participants into the experience as well. And I think like the last thing I'll say here, because I mean the list is long, is just memory. And it's really like why I started here. And even going back to like Cicely Tyson, like she said like always go back to Africa. And when I read that, I was in a soul searching period. So I felt like that was the universe talking to me. And just like always go back to these roots and just importance of like not being forgotten, or like where you're coming from not being forgotten. And it's cool that there's different elements that you can explore to do that with that we wouldn't normally think of. Like I wish I had this syllabus like 4 years ago. But that, even as I'm talking to different people in this space, like this is one of the first spaces that are exploring like these different elements. So we're kind of like making it as we go, which is like what I love about Level Ground. Like it's an experimental residency. So, and like just last thing actually is when I got the residency, I was like, oh shit, y'all believe me? Like I was just like, like I really was like, they said experiment, let me experiment. And so it's just like super exciting to be here and like to be in a space that really pushes you to do that. So yeah.
My show itself is surrounding the liberatory potential of kink and BDSM for Black folks. But on my syllabus, I gave connection to that, but I also gave connection to like how I work and what materials and why. So you'll find a book called Existential Kink on there, and it's how like you can use or do shadow work through kink. And like there's just so much potential for healing in kink spaces. It's a space, when done correctly, centers consent, play, creativity, communication, boundaries, and I just think that opens up a whole world for a discovery of self and like learning how to get closer to others. I included, what did I include? Letitia Kai, her book, she does these like incredible hair sculptures. And Black hair is just already, there's so much storytelling and history in that, and I'm using a lot of braiding hair as a textile in my pieces, and I just think like hair shows pathways, it shows its own stories, protection, queerness, exploration and creativity and play in its own right. And so I put her book, and I also put this documentary series that's on Hulu. It's called, what is it called? Oh my God, I'm forgetting the name. I think is it called just Hair? Thank you. Hair Tales. And it's really great just to hear a few people's stories with their hair, their journeys growing up. And I thought that was important to include. I also included a few pro-doms on my list to just help others see like what I see in the kink community. There's Sacred Sadism, who is like co-topped by Genevieve and Temba, who are friends of mine, and they use nature and integrate it into their BDSM world. And that's been a huge healing point for me in my own kink journey, to just like sit with, okay, I am experiencing like ancestral trauma with a lot of the elements of BDSM. How do I heal that, and how do I like still engage with this as a practice without feeling like I'm triggering myself all the time? And so like one of the pictures that's on here is me in a vac bed as a pressed floral arrangement. That was Sacred Sadism's idea, and I collaborated with them as a model. It honestly, like, I felt hugged on every part of my body. I felt really beautiful. I felt one with myself. We designed the floral together, and it was just such a beautiful experience to be protected and held in that way. I also included Sir, who is another Dom. They do a lot of rope bondage, and it's just the historical implications that like we have with rope and trees as Black beings. It's a lot to hold, and I think there's a lot of space for healing when we're tied. We get to focus on the details of ourself. We get to feel our breathing. We get to feel pain if that's what we're feeling in a space where we're also being held and asked if we're okay, and our pain is being believed and validated. I also included Nymph the Enchantress, who is a Dom working in New York. So incredible. Also works with like, we'll have like white Doms that they walk, or not white Doms, white subs that they walk. And like there is this power dynamic of a Dom and a sub, and to like use like race play in that way, I think is very powerful. There are a lot of Black Doms that have like made their white subs read race theory, and like I just think it's a really cool space. I also included my friend Christina on the syllabus because she does a lot of work with demystifying flexibility and mobility, and she really works with a variety of bodies. Not every body is the same, not every body is navigating the same experience, and she does so much beautiful work to just like help people meet themselves and meet their bodies where they're at. I've been doing movement-based practices for like over a decade. I've been a contortionist for over a decade, and she like just helped me form a more positive relationship with like stretching and strengthening my body as opposed to pushing it to a specific goal. And something I'll leave you with is on my syllabus, there's a yes, no, maybe list. If you haven't done it before, I highly encourage you to. Kink and BDSM can be very daunting. So sometimes having a list when you like don't know what you're into, and like maybe the things you used to be into aren't the things you're into now, but you can just go down the list with yourself, with a person, multiple partners, and just like check off if you're into something, if you're not and it's a hard no, or if it's a maybe and you want to explore it. So I highly recommend.
That was beautiful. I'm gonna check it out. Check out all yours. I pulled mine up because I had a brain fart. I forgot. A lot of my syllabus is about creating an environment in which you can transmute fear into joy, and doing that on a daily basis, like making rituals for yourself on a daily basis. So it starts off with doing a daily chant. I've been chanting, doing an abundance chant because I've been calling in lots of money. And it's called Shreem Brizzy, and I do it every morning while I'm doing my makeup and my skincare. So yeah, just finding something that you do like on a daily basis is something that like helps me to attune my energy to like the things that I want to call in. There's some like required reading on there, and required listening, and required watching. I'll go over those three things. The required reading is a small book by a collective of Black thinkers and writers called Black Quantum Futurism, and it talks about quantum physics from an Afrocentric lens, about ancestral knowledges that were denied by by Western society and by Western science. We were told that we were unintelligent when actually we hold so much knowledge from our ancestors, and we can tap into that. And now, like, a lot of the quantum physicists are making discoveries that Black people and Indigenous people have we been known that for years, and now they're trying to say that they discovered all these things. But so that book breaks down a lot of that, and some of it's like really technical and like mathematical, and I don't understand it at all. But just by like trying to read it, I feel like it's making me smarter in some ways, and it's also shifting my understanding of time specifically, and understanding time as being circular and actually not being linear, and that linear time is a facet of white supremacy because it cuts you off from your past and your present. It makes the past, the present, and the future separate, when in many African and Indigenous knowledge bases, the past, the present, and the future are happening all at the same time. And with that knowledge, you have the ability to influence what's happening in your own body, with other people, and that can be strengthened with numbers. And the use of mathematics as a way to unlock creative potential is something that I'm really fascinated by. And as a kid, I was like always doing like we would be driving and I would be doing little math equations based on the license plate or something like that. You know, I was always in that frame of mind. So that book kind of helped me to find a way to connect it to my creative process, and has influenced me in that way. Required watching Alien Resurrection, which is the fourth Alien and the best Alien, in my opinion. It is like the worst. It has like the worst reviews on everything, but it's actually the best. It's like the most lesbian one, and it's like alien sexual. There's like a really amazing scene where she's just like laying down, Ripley. She's like laying down in this like bed of aliens, and she's like, like having an orgasm to like aliens, and like it's so good. And it's also fashion, like it's giving fashion, and that's something that I'm also like. I feel like. Yeah, I really love fashion. I love making clothes. I love styling. I'm obsessed, actually. And I think that like adornment is a way of expressing yourself and tapping into creativity. So that's something that is required. You have to watch it. And then required listening. There's this podcast. I'll just find the name of it, but it's episode 2 of the 703 podcast, which is a conversation with Juliana Huxtable around mental health and creativity. If you don't know who Juliana Huxtable is, well, go Google her. That's also required Googling. Juliana Huxtable is an amazing visual artist and writer, Black trans woman, and she just talks about her experience growing up in the South, and what that was like being a trans woman from the South, and also talks about what it means to be intersex and trans as well. And that conversation is a conversation that lives rent-free in my mind. Juliana lives rent-free in my mind. What else? Oh, and then listen to that. I'm being teacher. And then required eating. I put eat a cupcake, because any day where I'm eating a cupcake is a good day. But any treat of your liking, like I'm all about eating little treats on a daily basis. And then there's also a playlist of music that I have been listening to recently, so you can click through and listen. And then the last one is like strengthening and stretching your body. And I was a dancer, and one of the things that I've been connecting with recently is Jane Fonda's aerobics videos, like the original like workout videos. It's so good. She's like, stretch, yes, it's so good. So like, get dressed up in a cute little outfit and like stretch your body. Yeah.
Thank you, Dami. I actually did listen to your chant this morning as I was getting ready for this panel. It's lovely. And I love Susie cakes, so I saw that you put the cupcakes on there. Strawberry-filled center. We're gonna go and ask each individual artist just some deeper questions about your practice and what you've offered here on the syllabi. So Kyla, kink and black spaces are central to your work, as you've told us. You want to go a little bit deeper about what kink specifically offers to you and those people that you love?
Yeah. So I kind of started my kink exploration in high school. I went to a predominantly white high school and had to find ways to ground and center in that space. So I would tie myself with rope underneath my clothes just to feel like a little spicy, but also to like just feel like I was holding myself and to be present with myself. And I don't know, it felt like an anchor in that space. And it was really beneficial to me. I think it took a really long time for the word no to find a home in my mouth. And working with kink really allowed me to find it, to be like, this is what I want, this is what I do not want. And I might be a little interested in that, but that's up to me to determine. And I think it gave me a power that I really needed, especially at that time. It made me walk differently. I think that kink can be healing for anyone and everyone, but specifically, like when talking about kink for Black beings, I just think that it's something that we deserve. Like, we deserve to play. Play shouldn't be reserved for children. We all need that within us, and I think it's a space where we can command and explore different aspects of ourselves, different creatures that we are, without feeling like we're dehumanizing ourselves, without feeling like without feeling like, or maybe instead of that, like a place where we can really just direct our own attention to ourselves and to our bodies and to how we want to be treated, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I feel like my communication has gotten a lot better, especially like using kink as a vessel. I also just want to take a moment and introduce my partner, Alexander, who is also my pup. They have many forms, but today they're sweet beast in dog form. And like, this is a space that we get to explore together, and that's really special. You know, I am not taking away their power, and just because they're leashed doesn't mean that I can command them. Like, there's still respect, there's still boundaries. This is a space that was communicated before we came here. Like, we have explored this space together and are presenting it to you today so you can see what it's like. I just think that it can be very daunting to get into, like I said earlier, to get into kink and BDSM. I think a lot of what is shown is like chains and whips and red and black, like leather and latex, which is definitely a part of it, but like, you can pave your own way through that. There are neutral colored latex colors. There's a whole rainbow. You can pick your own. You can do what feels right. You don't have to do what you think is the right thing to do in BDSM, you know, like that's what the boundaries are for. You don't need to be choked to be a part of the kink community. You can find your own way. But if you do like to be choked, that's okay. And that's celebrated. I think with my show, I'm doing a specific focus on impact, play, and rope bondage. And even navigating rope bondage, it's, you know, we have to like be careful and remember where it comes from. You know, shibari is a very specifically Japanese art form, and not everyone has that access to like mentor from these artists that have been doing it for years and years. But it's really beautiful when we can like pay homage to that craft and take it and use it for our own healing. A lot of kink spaces are very white-centered, and so I think it is important that we take up space. Also, the gear isn't as accessible, and I think that's another reason why I chose to make my own out of things that feel accessible, like braiding hair, and that feel Black. And yeah.
Oh, it's me.
When I saw that in the syllabus, I grew up watching my mom do those exercises. Super nostalgic. Loved it. I'm just kicking over stuff today. All right. So we're going to talk about a little about your work in performance and sound music development, and that's so prevalent in your practice. So can you talk more about your practice as a musician, your background in theater, and how that's informing your work now?
Totally. I think that, something that thank you. Something that I really love about theater specifically is the fact that it's a communal process, and that's something that I'm always craving. It's like being locked in a dark room with 20 people and going over something over and over and over again until you get it right, and then that repetition sinks into your body, and you've done it so many times that when you're there on the stage, you're not even thinking about the fact that you're performing. It allows me to go somewhere else, and so the use of repetition, coming together as a community, the lights, the stage, the magic, the set, the drama. That's something that I've always been drawn to. And it started really in church. There was we would do plays, a church Christmas play, and I was always on it. I was always the one. I knew everyone's lines. I knew everything. I was always that person. And even if I was wrong, or even if I messed up, I did it so good that people thought that it would, So I think that, and all the way through high school and into college, I was doing theater. And then I went to Pepperdine for one fated year where I studied acting and opera, and I was in choir, and I was also weirdly studying psychology. But after that, I moved to San Francisco, and I was going to San Francisco State for documentary filmmaking, but I was an honorary member of the dance department, and they wanted me to join, but I was no. But I will come to class, I will drop in on class whenever I want to. And I will steal the spotlight. No. And then at that point, I also did a show through the dance department at SF State, and this talent scout was there, and she casted me in a play that played at ACT in San Francisco through a theater company called Campo Santo. And that was really formative for me as an actor and as a theater artist. But it was also interesting because it was like very cisgender, straight, Black excellence, which is cool, and I'm glad that they're taking up space in that way and like gaining recognition. But then me as like a transsexual, it was like I remember there was this one moment, I'm going on a tangent, but I'll relate it back. But they were going on and on about how the experience of being Black in the theater scene in San Francisco, and how like you could get cast in a play and be the only Black person there in the process. And then I gagged them because then I was like, yeah, it's almost like how I'm the only trans person in this process and the labor that goes into that for me. And they were they were gagged. They didn't know what to say. But I think that that's also something with music, is like, because I have my hands in so many things, I'm never like gonna compromise what I see and how I feel, because like, just because you're the director of this show, like, so you think you're better than me, or no? No, but that's like, yeah, I'm unhinged. But I think that that's where music comes in. Like, I get to be the director of that, and I get to be like, when it comes to my music practice, it is generated through me. And then, but what is also important to my practice is bringing people on who I trust. Like, I trust you as an artist, I trust what you make, and I love the work that you make. And then, like, getting them up to speed on on whatever inspiration is there, and then like letting them take the work and like mold it in whatever way they want to, and like kind of being hands off, like passing it back and forth, is a process that I really appreciate about music making. Yeah, I'm gonna stop now.
Thank you, Dami. So Aya, you work in AI, which we know can be a really controversial mode of work, especially at this moment in time. Can you say more about your engagement with AI and what it might lend in regards to cultural stewardship and remembrance?
Sure. So I do get this question often, and I think it's fair in terms of like the controversial lens. I think that it's really important to understand like how things are made, like not just like AI made it, but like behind it, like what was the steps that goes to get there. And I never see my work as like, this is work made by AI, but it's a co-creative process, and that's really how I entered into this space of like co-creating with AI to really have more expansive ideas, but I'm still very much fully in this process. Like, these are fully my thoughts or fully my mind, and I have like an assistant that's giving me other perspectives to think through, but fundamentally and foundationally, like, I put in the process to the work. I think that's very different than like someone just like using DALL-E to create a piece of work. I look at that as like the difference between like making an art piece and making a coloring page. I think like that's honestly a really good example of just like you have a framework, a picture that's already drawn, and you've added the colors, versus like you took the time to really design and make that piece. And so I always go from that lens, and again, like from that lens, and also from the lens of like, you know, techno-vernacular creativity, like it always goes back to that of like the remixing, the reappropriating, the improvisation of that aspect. And through there, it's been really fun. It's been really exciting. The work that I've been able to make with people and with AI, like I've only gotten like super positive responses. And, you know, I didn't talk too much about the data science side of me, but like that's a space, or that's like, I guess, experience of mine that I've had for like, I'm like doing the math. I guess like over like 12 years, and it's been in very serious stuff like health and fraud detection and like the State Department, and just like these very serious topics that you were like, I'm helping and I'm working with AI, but it was never again from like a superhuman replacing human, but like, hey, like you've been doing all this stuff that we can automate for you so you can use your time to do something more efficient. Or like, instead of having some random intern make this subjectively, like let's make this more methodically, and let's make better decisions from that. But even all of that is great, it's very serious. And so on the creative side, or at least the way I like to co-create, it goes back to that joy and that fun and that lightness of it. And just that side of AI that's not scary, and that it's more of like, we co-created and like we had this, and I got this like expansive new way of seeing things or interacting with something. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminded me something that the artist Rafiq Anadol said, which was maybe the problem with AI being scary is that the wrong people are working with it. Maybe it should be the artist, which I think is maybe something to think about as well, and how the artist work with it. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Gemma, so I appreciate your work, of course, because we're both public transit users. We've ridden the same trains together at times and talked about this. I'm really interested in how you're exploring the use of public transportation in LA, and I'm curious what it feels like for you to navigate the city on foot with the assistance of public transit, and especially how that transit expands your imagination of what could be, what is possible in LA.
Yeah, for sure. I want to give a shout out to my mama, who like taught me how to get around. Like, she's been riding public transit everywhere, still is, every day to work. And it was her that I started exploring public transit. I remember my first time being in the Red Line, and me and my sister being like so like amazed by its structure in North Hollywood, and just going downtown in various places. And with that, knowledge and experience, I ended up exploring on my own. And there's a lot that come with it. Even though my mom opened up this way of getting around for me, she was also very worried, right? You're a young woman, who knows what could happen, and that's a constant theme, right? How do you, as whoever you are, when you're navigating public space, it could look very differently. But with that, knowing that didn't stop me, I was kind of like, very like, no, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna find my way, and I'm gonna make my way back. And with that, I allowed myself to explore, to find new places, to meet people, and to really see the differences in places too. LA, it's so wide, and it's so different from one another, and you can see how it changes as you go, right? And you can see that on public transit, but also in your car too, of course. But with that, like lately I've been really grounding myself in being a proud chismosa, which in Spanish means like, I don't know how do you translate it in English, but someone who gossips, right? Yeah. Someone who likes tea, a listener, or deep listener. Yeah. But I love that because it's in those moments when I have learned a lot about people in my commutes. Just coming here, I saw a queer person talking to an older señora, an older woman, and really diving into her, like, what she's going through with her family and her relationships. And they had the most beautiful goodbye, just really sitting with each other and being like, I wishing you the best. What's your next stop? Are you close? You good? Just really checking in on each other. And that kind of like brings me peace in the, in those moments. Like public space can allow those moments to exist, moments to connect with a stranger, to really have those places where you could roam with a friend, catch up, and I don't, and coming from where I come from, like I didn't want to make myself small. I wanted to feel grounded and feel like I could walk with confidence. And it kind of goes back to no matter what I'm wearing, what stories I carry, I could walk with confidence in public spaces through transportation. And I really love that idea because I don't want the way we move to take for granted. It's not everyone has different ways of moving around and abilities, right? And so being able to move can be, for me at least, a place of meditation, a place of connection, and a place to explore, right? And with that, it's really like, with that, it's acknowledging, it's not perfect, right? Cities, rural places, they all have different modes of moving, and this LA happens to be the one I know the most, which has to deal with a lot of like race and class issues, and it's not the most advanced system. And with that acknowledgement, I think that's kind of puts me to create work, to experiment with work, to really kind of stop myself and think, how do we move, how can we imagine these spaces? How can we how people move at different beats? And that's something I forgot to mention too. Like my syllabi, I titled it Beats Per Minute because we all move at different beats, right? We all have our different moves that we like to move. Maybe we like to be in our cars. There's nothing wrong with that. But maybe we also like to bike or not move at all, or just lay at the park close by, or kick it at the corner plaza. I don't know. But that's really, it's the people around me, it's the places, it's history, it's everything in between that like really has inspired me, has really, in a way, like I've been thinking about this today, like how that place has been my way of building my confidence too. And so I just want to share that, and I'm grateful to be able to do that with my work and really experimented in imagining how it could be, how it is in some places, and in acknowledging the people also who move in these places too. And so this work, it's an homage to the people and the places, but also thinking about our futures too, and how those all worlds interconnect. And a lot more, but I'm feeling really shaky now, so I'm gonna pass it on.
Thank you, Gemma. It's like so rad to see the 110 close down and like people walking on it, last week and like for Arroyo Fest. So I think that brings us into like our next set of questions. The title of this panel, is talking about futures building and world building. And that word, future building, can mean so many different things to so many different people. We all do it in our own way. So this is an open question to everyone here on the panel. What does it mean to engage with the future in your work? What does it look like, or what does it even mean to begin to question that?
So like I said, as a part of the Black Quantum Futurism, there's a whole chapter on circular time theories. And something that I've, like a foundational part of my performance work specifically, is using the body as a conduit, and using dance and voice and singing as a way to call in energies that I am missing, or I think are missing, or that are needed to change the future. And along with it is like a lot of the storylines, like in writings that I create, are future-based or are alternate timelines where like time might not work the same way, or just broadening even just my understanding of time itself, and also like the colonization of time, and then like re-indigenizing, re-Africanizing my understanding of time itself, and then using performance spaces and like that specific moment of the performance, I'm like deep in my mind somewhere transcended out of time, and like really striving for that. Yeah.
So Future Worlds is something that is a theme, I would say, in a lot of the work that I do. So like, just felt so on brand and naturally too, which is really cool. And I would say, again, going back to techno-vernacular creativity, I hope by now that word sounds very familiar. And in that space, the first piece of work that I created was in 2021, and I looked back, like I love cartoons, I love superheroes, and I was like where is like a Black woman main character in the superheroes in a big TV or film, and we don't have that. And that was like the first thing I wanted to explore, like with AI, with creating those visuals, with imagining those stories, and creating a space where I want to see that in the future. And from that, another piece of work that came out of it, which was really cool, which was like an exploration of dance, poetry, and Afrofuturism. Oh my God, these pieces. And and it was a collaboration with Care.org and Royal Love Production, and two dancers basically choreographed to a poem that is really about, just strong feminine energy and just really being like owning who you are, but also making that a global campaign. And it was really cool to be a part of that. But it was even more cool where like a few months later, I'm like giving a small talk in like a middle school, and I show them this, and they're like, oh, I remember seeing that. And to me, like those are the moments of why I do that. I had a piece in, I'm trying to remember this place, in London, and it's like a super white space. And I remember having that piece, talking to a Black woman there. Then I was like, oh, I'm here because my art is here. And she was like, what? Can't believe a Black girl created that. And I'm like, yeah, like that's why I'm here. It's like to create that now, that future now. And it's been really cool to see that with this work of just how much, you got to create the world you want to see, and beginning to see that happen has just been, honestly amazing.
I think a lot of what I'm presenting is based on getting back to our bodies and getting back to nature. And so I think that just getting to talk about kink and BDSM and like really almost demystify it a little bit. It like let people know that it is a space where you can learn more about yourself and others. And I think within the community, there is a lot of talking to each other, asking what boundaries are, whether it's on a name tag or whether it's like a colorful bandana or you're using your actual words. I think we're so used to this like hustle bustle grind culture that it's easy for us to forget to check in with ourselves and the people around us. And I think that's a lot of what this work is like checking in with yourself, exploring yourself, pushing your own limits, seeing what's possible, creating these fantasies for yourself that can be a reality, dreaming again, forming community, Yeah, but I think mainly just like checking in with self and others around you.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier I studied urban planning, and I work in that field right now. I do a lot of civic engagement work, so I'm on the ground, I'm talking to people about various projects that are happening in their communities. And for me, being in that world has been, I've learned a lot, but it's been very difficult. You know, I came into this world because I felt, you know, it's obviously has always been a white male-dominated world. You know, these are the people who have planned and are continuing to plan how our places and our environment are being built. And so it's been a bit daunting. You know, it's been kind of sometimes very overwhelming and exhausting. And even just thinking about it now, like, and so I think, but having an art practice for me has been essential, and I think that's also a reason why I went into this world, because I felt like, you know, I was an artist, I wanted to be able to give this resource I have or experience I have to kind of like break that world and see like how we can make things, we could decide for our futures together. And make those decisions, right? And it's been a lot. I won't go into it. If you want to talk about it, I'm down, but it's just a lot. It's been both good and bad. It's been, I don't know, I don't even want to say good and bad. It's just been very full. It's been very full. But lately, or I've always, you know, no, even though I'm in this world, my art practice, I feel, always calls me back. And I'm really grateful for it, because it like has been always a healing place for me to like understand myself and the places around me and my community, but also a place where I could imagine together and like document that the joy we feel and that we're here too, and that we've been using these, you know, we've been here, we are moving, we have stories, we carry them, and there's a lot we hold. And so I want that to be presented now and in our environments, as well as to keep that joy and like present that. And I think that's kind of like a mix too. And it's hard to like answer this question too, because I feel like I'm always giving homage to people now, but like these are the people I want to see always around and being presented and being acknowledged, and their stories being at the forefront too. And I also want to like make sure we have, you know, all our needs met, including how we move and navigate space.
So we're close to wrapping up, but I just want to ask one other question. Was there anything that we should have asked that we didn't ask? And any of you can answer.
Maybe. Okay.
I was like, you should go.
No, you do it.
Okay. So, where do you go to in LA when you need like inspiration or for creativity?
Are we answering it? Okay. It depends on the time of day. I would say in the morning, I like to go to like a coffee shop. Finding a coffee shop where they're not transphobic, and then like going there every day.
Dami, what coffee shops are those? Tell us.
Right now, I'm going to a really cute one called Mandarin Coffee. It's in Pasadena, and we hate J.K. Rowling, but it looks, we hate J.K. Rowling, but the space looks like Diagon Alley. It's so cute. That's in the morning. In the afternoon, I would say like a park, Echo Park. I really like Echo Park because it is so like, it's just people. I like being around people and water. And then like at midnight, I really encourage you all to like go to your favorite beach at midnight and like watch the moon set and be like in the like only if you can like bear the cold, go in the water.
Giving Cancer energy.
Yeah, it is. The question that I would have asked is, what was the last movie you watched? And mine is Princess Mononoke.
I'm gonna have to think on what the last movie I watched was, but in terms of like where I go, I also agree with a midnight beach run. Also, just driving at night around the city is I love. It's a different energy entirely. I think also going to Lemert Park on Sunday, just like 12 o'clock. You know, just everybody's out. There's an African marketplace, and it's just such a reflection of community and really good food. Drum circle. I like to go to Napoli Naturals and get some yummy teas or just some incense. They have a lot of like sustainable products also, so it's just a great time, grounding time, get me back to myself, roots. Yeah.
So I definitely agree. The beach. I haven't tried the midnight thing though, so gotta try that. But definitely the beach. I also like to go on just like walks and go for runs, and I also really love Baldwin Hills Overlook. Sometimes I just like to actually like it's like not the actual overlook, but it's like the space between like Overlook and the Culver City Park, and there's like literally like a bench that just like overlooks the entire city, and it's just so beautiful and peaceful. And so I try to go there a couple times a month. I also really like things like this, so like going to other artist talks and just being exposed to different ways that people are creating. I think the other thing I like to do as well is go hiking, and I love that there's also different parks like Baldwin Hills that you can go to, and like Kenneth Hahn as well. And then the movie, I can't remember the last movie I watched, but I don't watch movies twice a lot, and I can remember that one most recently, and it was Super Mario Brothers. It was so good.
Candy. It was like candy, like eye candy.
Yep.
And a question? Oh, you already, yeah, you, that's right. Sorry.
Some places in LA that, what was the question? Bring comfort or like go for? Yeah, I love all LA, man. I love, I'm from the San Fernando Valley, so I'm out there a lot. And I've been I live in Van Nuys right now, so I've been exploring a lot of Van Nuys on my bike and running errands, and that's been really nice. And I really been loving like the Orange Line now that I have a bike, which is just a bike path itself. And I love all the plants around. I wish I could ride it at night, but there's like literally no lighting. But it's been such a joy to ride all of that. And then my sister recently took me at the end of it, which literally is just stops. Like the end, like there's just a complete stop, and it turns to a neighborhood, and is just so beautiful. Like, wow, it's just like ends right there. And there's just a bench you could just sit and like see beautiful neighborhood. It's not, I was trying to make it romantic, but it's not. It's just the houses. But I also love to eat, and I think that's what brings me to exploring various places. Oh gosh, lately I've been really been in love with, what's it called? I've just been in East LA a lot because that's a lot of the work that I do with folks. And yesterday there's this corridor, Cesar Chavez, and there's this beautiful place where it's just a lot of various foods and things going on. But man, I just love how me and my coworkers, we just love this place called La Azteca. It's a great burrito. And I was there, and then I was talking to someone, and they're like, oh, you should go there and eat, you know? And then everyone was eating there. And so I was just like, wow, like I just was really grateful to be in that place recently. I'm like, oh, you know, and just that's, you know, I'm in East LA a lot, and I'm like, that's the place, like, oh, that, yeah, comes to mind right now. I was really wanting a burrito yesterday, but didn't get a chance because it was packed, and so I guess I'm still missing that burrito right now.
All right, and then to wrap up, how can the people in this room best support you and your practice? And please be specific.
Give us those Cash App handles.
Yeah, if anyone just has, you know, $100,000 or $200,000. Yeah, no, but for real, I am, if you have, like, I'm calling in money. I'll say it again on the microphone loud for y'all to hear, for y'all to believe it with me so that it comes true. But yeah, I am just trying to get this project funded, and I'm sure it's the continual struggle of the artists is to have the money to do the things that you want to do. Yeah.
I agree. Any gifts, funds, always helpful. Also space, like if anyone has space that they have access to where like events could be held, that would also be awesome and good information to have. I'm looking to have more performances, definitely centering like queer, trans, Black beings, but inclusive to everyone also. But just more safe spaces are needed, and if you have access to that, that's also great.
So yeah, I definitely agree with both of them in terms of funding. Space, to be more specific, would be like a dance studio or like a co-working space, a place where we can test out the experience. Would be one. And then also, like, if you think this project is cool and you want to get involved, definitely open to hearing your thoughts of how that could work. And there's definitely a lot of different ideas and ways that people can participate or be a part of the team. So definitely reach out. And come to the show. So that's, fundamentally come out and bring a friend, please. And yeah.
Wow, I love everyone's answers, but yeah, this is a hard one for me because it's hard sometimes to ask. But I appreciate everyone for being here, and I feel like that's a lot of support on itself. But yeah, I come to this show. I think for one, if anyone helps me build a computer, that'd be cool. Editing is fun, but it takes a lot. And chat with me. I just love learning from people and their experiences. Fight me too. Like, I'm trying to get better at arguing because that's also part of the urban planning world. You know, you gotta like sit with people and like, you know, not everyone sees eye to eye. You know, everyone has their ideas how they want, you know, their community to be built, and that's fair, right? But I need to get more ballsy on that, I guess. But yeah, I don't want to end it like that. Oh, sorry, that was the last thing I said. Sorry. Yeah, talk to me.
All right, let's give it up for our artists.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. One more round of applause. Also, a round of applause for Leslie and Bianca for holding space. Thank you so much. So I just want to close out. I have my duties. Wait a minute. Okay, so please check out the syllabi online. They're all live on levelground.co for wonderfully curated pieces with instructions and resources. Hope you enjoy. Also, we have a lot of Level Ground merch over there. Bree, Lily, holding it down. Feel free to get some, you know. It really is helpful, and we love seeing everybody's totes out in the world. So there's that. And then also, please drink Cornelia. Do you see how many drinks are left over, babe? They need some help. It's not, they need help. They need our help specifically. So please go get that. And then also enjoy some snacks from Chaos Kitchen over there. We'd love to not take it home unless that's the gift you want to give us. But take some home for you, babe, because we care about you. And yeah, one more round of applause for everybody for being here. Thank you so much.